time. Lao Tzu legendarily was a guy who was a historian and a librarian. And he eventually said, forget it, I'm out of here. And he went to the mountains to live. And there he studied the ways of nature. Now, this book was written, and it's of all the books, besides the Bible, this is the most widely translated book in the world. However, because of the terseness of the Chinese characters of the time, which sometimes are pictographs, sometimes are sounds, you can have multiple interpretations. The ultimate, the first sentence is the one that's probably the most important. The Tao that can be talked about is not the eternal Tao. Well, it's been translated in a number of different ways, and you're going to get that posted. You can see how different the translations are. There's so much room for interpretation here, and almost everybody has found something in it. The Jesuits who went to China, particularly Matteo Ricci, if you ever want to read an interesting book, The Memory Palace, he went over there and taught people how to memorize things by using constructs where you would build this palace in your head and you would come up with these silly images to help you remember a long litany of things. But at the same time, he respected the Chinese, and when they wrote the Bible over there, they translated it. In the beginning was the Word, they said in the beginning was the Tao. The Tao is really a word that can be used in multiple contexts. It basically shows a road, and this is a head, and this is like an army battle dress. So the picture is kind of like a man riding down the road. You could say, you could translate it as walking, you could translate it as way, you could translate it as the road, but it's the way in the same way that I am the way, the truth, and the light, that kind of way. Now, what started for 500 years, approximately, before the 1st century AD, Taoism was really just a philosophy enjoyed by people who knew how to read, which were the intelligentsia. Around the 1st century AD, Buddhism came into China, and the Chinese looked at it and said, wow, they've got monasteries, they've got priests, they've got this, they've got that. And they began their own organization of Taoism. Now you've got a hierarchy of saints, you've got priests, you can pay money, you can forgive your sins, blah, blah, blah. But why would there be a religion of Taoism if you're just supposed to be natural? You live your life, you have some fun, you die, you go back to the plants, whatever. Well, there's a sentence in at the bottom of one of the stanzas, and by the way, there was no punctuation at all. Whoever organized this into 81 chapters, they put their own dots and periods and things like that. So some chapters longer than others. I really recommend that you get this book. This is the cheapest, and you can put it in your pocket. And all you got to do is just pick it up every once in a while. Just read anything that pops into your mind. Heaviness is the root of lightness. Serenity is the master of restlessness. There's a lot of confusing things that seem contradictory. Just like I said, those who say do not know, those who know do not say. But it'll reach you. I got it when I was your age, and Lao Tzu talks about it. He says, when the young scholar who doesn't know much first hears about the Tao, he breaks out in laughter. If they didn't laugh, it wouldn't be the Tao. The next guy kind of comes along and says, very interesting, and walks on by. The guy who really gets it is just like the guy in the Gospels. He gives up everything and follows the Tao. There's some really interesting and somewhat contradictory statements in here. There is a question about whether this was actually written by one guy or is a collection of aphorisms. I'll leave that up to you. In the chapter I was talking about, the last sentence says, to die but not perish.